Hello, Health Science 1 class. This is Mrs. Combs. Happy Wednesday. Today we are going to go over our reminders, some good news, and then we will be talking about the muscular system functions and characteristics of muscles, and then I'll have you watch another video introducing what's called the sliding filament theory. So our reminders, wear your mask, wear it appropriately, nobody wants to see your nose, yada yada. Honors papers are due on October 7th, so please make sure that you're working on those. If you do have any questions, shoot me an email, let me know. And then finally, first HOSA meeting is this Friday in the auditorium during a lunch. So make sure if you are interested in HOSA that you go. Good news, I don't really have anything. I hope you have some good news. Bad news, and the reason why I'm not there is at around dinner time, youngest, Bo Combs, runny nose, fever, all that stuff. So that's why I'm at home and filming this lesson for you tonight. So anyway, we will get started with the muscular system functions. For all of you who are taking notes on the computer, we'll be completing pages 2, 3, and 4 of our note guides today. And for those of us who are on paper, it'll be the second half of the first page and then the entire second page of notes. Okay, so let's get this going. So again, functions and characteristics of the muscular system. By the end of class today, you should be able to determine what are the functions of the muscular system. How does the muscular system help us with movement and support, and the different characteristics of muscles. So the three main functions of the muscular system are movement, posture, and body temperature or body heat. Okay, let's delve into them a little bit further. So when we're talking about movement, we are going to talk about how a skeletal muscle moves. Later on, we'll talk about muscle fatigue and exercise, but then we're also going to talk about how movement is related to the digestive system and to the heart. I know that we've mentioned before, so hopefully this will help it to make a little bit more sense. So this is talking about movement of a skeletal muscle. So the way that a skeletal muscle is set up is it has an origin point and an insertion point. And it's we already know that skeletal muscles are attached to bone by a tendon. So one of those tendons is considered the origination point of that muscle tendon unit, and the other is the insertion point. And just a general rule of thumb is that when the actual muscle belly or the muscle body itself contracts or shortens, it's going to pull the site of the insertion tendon in the direction of the site of the origin tendon. I know that that sounds tricky, right? So in this example, it's showing that the biceps brachii muscle originates actually up on the scapula, okay? And then it inserts on the radius here. So when we contract our bicep muscles, it pulls the sorry, I'm trying to look on the screen here. It pulls the insertion point, which is our radius, toward our scapula. Therefore, it bends our elbow. Okay, so that's what that means. Just when a muscle contracts, when a muscle tendon unit contracts, the insertion point pulls to the origin point. Luckily for this class, we do not need to know every muscle's insertion and origin point because that gets a little crazy. Then just some other vocab that we need to know for this unit: prime mover, synergist, and antagonist, those words. So the prime mover basically means which muscle is the primary muscle that makes that movement happen. Okay, so when we were talking about flexion of the elbow or bending of the elbow, the prime mover of that motion is the biceps, right? The biceps brachii, because when it contracts, it primarily is the main thing that bends the elbow, okay? Synergists are other muscles that help with the movement. So they might not be the primary mover, but they help that movement occur. So we'll learn later on that the brachioradialis muscle is a synergist muscle to elbow flexion. It helps that movement out. It assists in that, making that motion happen. And then we have this word antagonist muscle, and basically that is a muscle that is on the opposite side of the joint. So you can see on the anterior surface of the arm, we have the biceps. So on the opposite side of the body, the posterior side of the body, is the triceps muscles back here. So those are going to be the antagonist muscle. And what that means is when these muscles contract, your triceps muscles, it actually acts to do the opposite motion or straighten your arm, okay? So when we're talking about the biceps bending the elbow, the triceps muscle does the opposite motion. It extends or straightens the elbow. So in order to achieve elbow bending or elbow flexion, when that bicep muscle contracts, your antagonist muscle, which in this case is the triceps, has to relax and stretch to allow that movement to happen. We will talk more about this when I'm in class with you, okay? Talking about movement in the digestive system. I know that we've mentioned a lot that there is smooth muscle that lines all of the organs of our digestive tract, and that's what helps to move our food along. So what this is saying, it's just kind of reiterating that fact that we already know. It's saying that the autonomic nervous system, so the branch of the nervous system that controls things that automatically happen within our body, the things that we don't have voluntary control over, okay? So it's saying that nervous system regulates how quickly those smooth muscles contract, which therefore regulates how quickly food is going to move through our digestive tract. So again, I know that that sounds tricky, but we've already learned that. We've already gone over that. Okay. Another thing that we've already gone over before, but just reiterating, is that movement also occurs with the cardiac muscle tissue. And again, it's that branch of the nervous system that's when things happen that are out of our voluntary control or involuntary actions. So it's saying that the nervous system sends a signal to our cardiac muscle, or hormones released by our endocrine system can send a signal to our cardiac muscle that helps to regulate the speed at which that cardiac muscle contracts. So it means it helps to regulate the speed at which our heart beats. Okay? And this control helps to move blood throughout our body. So that's all of the different things that we need to know about movement. That movement can be involved in the skeletal muscle, that the insertion point is always going to move toward the origin point in the contraction of a skeletal muscle. Those terms, prime mover, synergist, and antagonist, we need to know. And then just how movement relates to the smooth muscle of the digestive system and the cardiac muscle of the circulatory system. The second function of the muscular system is posture. And the question on the screen is, how does the muscular system affect posture? Think about it. It's pretty self-explanatory. You don't have to know anatomy to be able to figure this one out. But if we sit up as tall as we can in our chairs and try and hold that posturing, hold that position with our shoulders back and down, after we do that for a while, we start to feel the burn, right? We start to feel those muscles really working. And so the stronger our muscles are, or the more muscle tone that we have, it's going to help improve our posture. And so this image kind of shows it a little bit. But as we age, we are going to have less muscle tone and less muscle strength, and therefore our posture is going to decline naturally as we age. And then the final function that we need to know about is like regulation of body temperature or body heat. So we already know when we're cold, what do? We shiver, right? And that shivering is tiny little muscle contractions. And the muscle contractions that are happening there help to increase our body heat, increase our body temperature by contracting those muscles. So we know that already. We spoke about that actually in previous weeks. But then also, not only does the muscular system help to heat the body, but like as we're exercising, it does help to cool the body as well. Has anybody ever gone out on a run before or worked out and like maybe your face or your skin gets kind of red and blotchy? Anyone? It's happened to me. That is when we get really hot, our bodies naturally sweat to help cool down our skin. So the blotchiness that you're seeing is more blood flow coming towards the skin's surface so that hopefully the cooling of the skin by way of sweating can help to cool down our blood as well. So that's just something interesting. But it is important to know that yes, the muscular system does help play a role in maintaining body temperature, heating, and helping to cool. This just shows the relationship between the nervous system and the muscular system. We will talk more about this as we go, but essentially it's saying the muscular system could not function without its close ties to the nervous system. The nervous system is the boss. It's in charge of all of the other systems. So this is just showing in this image here that you need to receive the signal from your brain in order to experience a muscle contraction. So muscles don't just contract on their own. They need to be told to do so. Okay, the skeletal muscles we have voluntary control over, so we have to think about it before it happens, but that signal still comes from our nervous system. And then the smooth muscle, the cardiac muscle, remember that is involuntary. We don't have to think about it for it to happen, but it's our autonomic nervous system that is always sending signals down for those muscle contractions to occur. So the take-home message of this is that the muscular system can't work on its own. It needs that direction from the nervous system in order to work. Here's a slide with additional vocabulary that we need to know. We are going to go over this in class when I'm back. And there's also another video that I'm going to have you watch after this one that's explaining the sliding filament theory, which is how skeletal muscle contracts. So all of the words that you're seeing on the computer right now are going to make a little bit more sense after you watch that video. So we're just going to move on to the characteristics of muscle, and that'll be in our second video. Yeah, that'll be in our second video. Sorry, little dude's crying.